Welcome to the School of Wisdom, a weekly podcast produced for the Bible Bistro, studying the book of Proverbs chapter by chapter. My son, hear the instruction of your father. Forsake not the law of your mother, for they shall be an ornament of grace to your head and chains about your neck. Now, this week's lesson. Hey there, friends. Welcome back to the School of Wisdom podcast here in the Bible Bistro. You know, the wonderful thing about the Bible Bistro is we never run out of seats. This is an unlimited seat bistro. And you can come in here and find a seat and study with us. It doesn't matter how many other people are here in the bistro with you. We just all study together, one-on-one. And today we're studying chapter 23 of the book of Proverbs. So if you have your Bible and you want to turn to 23, that'd be great. Also, you might want to go to the website, my-dailydose.com, and get a copy of this outline. This is a wonderful passage of Scripture. There's a lot here. We actually go back to some my son sayings. Do you remember the first 9 chapters? We had my son over and over again, that continual piece that he was doing, teaching us and calling us son, when, you know, that could be son as from a father or student from a teacher. So today we're in chapter 23. We're going to begin in verse 1. And you'll notice if you have this outline, you'll see that we start off with right manners. When you sit to eat with a ruler, consider diligently what is before thee. Put a knife to thy throat if thou be a man given to appetite. Be not desirous of his dainties, for they are deceitful meat. Now, when it mentions the deceitful meat of the ruler, now notice it's not a king. Well, this is a ruler, so this could be someone who's over anything. Someone who has power, who projects power, who has influence. And you must be careful of what they present to you. Now, this is not just the roast that's on the plate in front of you. No, this is more than just the meat. This is all that he might want to give you. So watch it. Be careful that you don't take advantage of that situation. This is not unlike what we've heard before in other places in the Proverbs, like, you know, when you go in and you're invited to a banquet, don't take the best seat. Sit lower so that they have to say to you, oh, friend, come up, sit higher. But if you sit up in the best seats and then someone of more reputation comes in and they are going to sit him or her in the seat where you are, then you'll be ashamed. So you need to be careful. Draw back on your eagerness, your desire. Restrain yourself. Put a knife to your throat. That's a good word, really. Put a knife to your throat. So watch your manners. As your mom might tell you, watch your P's and Q's. Then we go on to vain riches. Labor not to be rich. Cease from thine own wisdom. Wilt thou set thine eyes upon that which is not? For riches certainly make themselves wings. They fly away as an eagle toward heaven. So remember what James taught us in the book of James when he said, the root of all evil, the love of money is the root of all evil. So if you love money and you're laboring to be rich just to be rich, then you're out of joint, because that's not right. Don't follow your wisdom in that matter. Follow the Lord's wisdom, because look what's going to happen to riches. They're going to take wings and fly away. And when they fly up to heaven, you're not going to be able to get them. You'll notice that I have set off the reasons attached to these by bullet points, and you'll see that all the way through here. Evil company is next. This is very much like what we had there in verses 1 through 3, 6 through 8. Eat thou not the bread of him that hath an evil eye, neither desire thou his dainty meats. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, he saith to thee, but his heart is not with thee. The morsel which thou hast eaten shall thou vomit up, and lose thy sweet words. This is the stingy man, the man who has an evil eye. He really doesn't want you to eat and drink. He's just saying that to be polite, but in his heart, it's not there. Be careful when you sit down to participate with that man, whether it's in a meal or anything else, because whatever he gives you, he's going to take from you, because he doesn't want you to have it to start with, and he doesn't want you to prosper. So be careful. Watch your manners And watch your company, by the way. Why are you having dinner with a man with an evil eye? It's not a good company to keep. And then if you see in the outline, I have 4 commands, just boom, 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 right in a row. Verse 9, verse 10, 11, verse 12, verse 13, and 14. So, first of all, the fool. Speak not in the ears of a fool, the reason, for he will despise the wisdom of thy words. The fatherless. Remove not the old landmark, and enter not into the field of the fatherless, the reason, for their Redeemer is mighty. He shall plead their cause with thee. Verse 12, apply thine heart unto instruction, and thine ears unto the words of knowledge. So the fool, the fatherless, and study all come with these commands. Speak not, remove not, apply your heart. So right in the middle we have this positive command. And then child raising, 13 and 14. Withhold not correction from the child, for if thou beatest him with the rod, he shall not die. Thou shalt beat him with the rod, and shalt deliver his soul from hell. And you recall back in 22, I think it was 22:15, we talked about the child, you were driving the foolishness from him. Foolishness in 22, and hell is delivering his soul from hell here in 23:14. Then we come to the my son sayings, and you'll notice I have those marked just as my son 1, 2, and 3. My son saying number 1, my son, if thine heart be wise, my heart shall rejoice, even mine. Yea, my reins shall rejoice, when thy lips speak right things. So we begin just like we had been going on there in chapters 1 through 9 with all those my son sayings. This is the Father speaking to the Son. If you have a wise heart, if your lips speak right things, well, I'm going to be happy about that. And then you'll notice that I have a bullet point for 17, sets it aside a little bit, because here's the command. Let not thine heart envy sinners, but be thou in the fear of the Lord all the day long, for surely there is an end, and thine expectation shall not be cut off. So I think this is the pick verse of this chapter. The fear of the Lord is mentioned here, and it's easy to memorize this, verse 17. And it's also easy to memorize verse 14. 18 rather. 17 is the command. 18 is the reason that the command is given. Let not your heart envy sinners. So this is easy. Do not envy sinners in your heart. That's the command. Those are the Hebrew words there. And then we have but. King James translates this but the construction should probably be translated rather. So we have this adversative. It's very strong here. Rather, now be thou, if you'll notice in your King James text, it's italicized. It's because be thou is not in the text. It's not there. So it's just rather in the fear of the Lord all day long. So if you translate this, which I have, do not envy sinners in your heart, rather in the fear of the Lord all day long. You could supply the word be there, but it's not necessary because the verb is already supplied for us. Envy not sinners in your heart, but fear the Lord all the day long. So that's the idea here. It's not to envy, but it's to fear. And what's in view here, the noun, the subject of this, whether you envy or fear, is your heart. So let not your heart envy, but let your heart, although it's not put that way, we don't have let your heart in the second half of the verse, but it should be there because, that's the idea. The force of it is carried over into the second half of the verse. Let your heart fear the Lord all day long. So the heart is what's in view. So let not your heart envy sinners, but, or rather, fear the Lord all day. So that's the idea here. It's just, you don't want to let envy in, because envy, as James tells us, I'll go back to James again, he tells us that envy is the root of every evil work. So we don't want envy in our hearts, and envying sinners is vanity anyway. Why would we do that? Let's fear the Lord rather than envy. And the reason is there in 18. Surely there is an end, and thine expectation shall not be cut off. Why? Because the Lord is the one that you're fearing, and He's the one who's going to make sure that your expectation, that thing that you're hoping for, is met. My son sang number 2, verse 19, "Hear thou, my son, be wise, guide thine heart in the way." And here's the command, "Be not among winebibbers, among riotous eaters of flesh." And here's the reason, "For the drunkard and the glutton shall come to poverty, and drowsiness shall clothe the man with rags." Be not among winebibbers. So the command here given again to the son, you're to be wise, guide your heart. Again, your heart. See, the heart has been highlighted ever since verse 12, where we had apply the heart. And then we had, "If your heart be wise, my son," in verse 15. And then we had, "Let not your heart envy sinners." And now we have, "Guide your heart in the way." And if you're going to do that, then here's the command, don't be among winebibbers. Don't go there. Riotous eaters of flesh. Don't go there. Why? "For the drunkard and the glutton shall come to poverty, and drowsiness shall clothe a man with rags. Rather, hearken unto thy father that beget thee, and despise not thy mother when she is old." And here's the next command, verse 23. "Buy the truth, sell it not. Also wisdom and instruction and understanding." So you're going to the marketplace? Well, if you're going to the marketplace, buy truth. That's the thing that you need. You need that. Oh, and also while you're there, why don't you get a little bit of wisdom, find some instruction, and I need a can of understanding. Okay, I can just hear my wife telling me to get those things when I go to the store. Buy the truth, don't sell it, buy it, and while you're buying, buy wisdom, instruction, and understanding. "The father of the righteous shall greatly rejoice, and he that begetteth a wise child shall have joy of him. Thy father and thy mother shall be glad, and she that bare thee shall rejoice." Again, so much like chapters 1 through 9. And then we have the third "my son" saying right here in 26 through 28. "My son, give me thine heart." There it is again. "Let thine eyes observe my ways. For a whore is a deep ditch, and a strange woman is a narrow pit. She also lieth in wait as for a prey, and increaseth the transgressors among men." So don't be among winebibbers. Don't envy sinners in your heart. Don't be among riotous eaters of flesh. Buy the truth. Don't sell it. And be careful of the whore, the strange woman. Why? Because she lies in wait for prey. She increases transgressors among men. And the wise son does not need to have part of that. "My son, give me your heart. Let thine eyes observe my ways, because I don't go there," is what he's saying. And this is where I don't go, the whore, the strange woman. She's a deep ditch, a narrow pit. And then we have in verse 29 through 35 another thing about the vanity of alcoholic drink. The vanity of alcoholic drink is seen, remember, in chapter 20, verse 1, "Wine is a mocker, and strong drink is a brawler, and he who is deceived thereby is not wise." Well, here we have a little more expansion on that idea. And notice we have 6 different times we have questions. Questions begin this whole section here. "Who hath woe? Who hath sorrow? Who hath contentions? Who hath babbling? Who hath wounds without cause? Who hath redness of eyes?" Well, who do you think? Let's see, he's going to tell me here in verse 30. "They that tarry long at the wine, they that go to seek mixed wine." Well, is this applicable to today? Absolutely. Because you can take this down to your local bar and grill and look at the men and women seated around that bar drinking, and you can see woe, sorrow, contention, babbling, wounds without cause, and redness of eyes, because you know what alcohol does to the human body. Then we have verse 31. Here's our command. "Look not thou upon the wine." So the command here, just like we had a command in 23 and in 20, and we had a command back there in 17, and a command, verse 6 and verse 4. All of these are commands that he's giving us so that we can live a life of wisdom. Here's our command. "Look not upon the wine. When it is red, when is wine not red? When it giveth its color in the cup, when does it not give its color in the cup? when it moves itself aright. Now here, our imagery changes from wine to something that's actually alive, and then we have what it's supposed to represent in 32. At last it bites like a serpent. So that cup is filled with the wine. It's giving its color, whether it's red or golden or white or whatever it might be. It's giving its color in the cup, but now it's moving. It's coiling itself up like a snake because it's getting ready to bite. And so you're drinking it, and it's moving because it's getting ready to strike like an adder. And then what happens? Here's the result of the adder's strike. Thine eyes shall behold strange women. Wait a minute, he just told me that the strange woman is a narrow pit. I need to be careful of that, don't I? Thine heart shall utter perverse things. Wait a minute, he told me to give him his heart. He told me to guide my heart in the way. He told me not to let my heart envy sinners, but rather to fear the Lord all the day. Now, because of wine, my heart isn't doing those things. It's uttering perverse things. Here's the result. Yea, thou shalt be as he that lieth down in the midst of the sea, or as he that lieth upon the top of a mast. They have stricken me, shalt thou say, and I was not sick. They have beaten me, and I felt it not. When shall I awake? I will seek it yet again. This is the voice of addiction. He wants it, even though he has woe, sorrow, contentions, babbling, wounds without cause, redness of eyes, even though his eyes behold strange women, even though he utters perverse things, even though he is staggering as though he were in the midst of the sea, even though he feels like he's been beaten, which probably he has, because someone has taken advantage of the drunkard. So what should you do about alcoholic drink? Is it something that you should be involved in? Absolutely not. There is no good redeeming value to alcoholic drink. Stay away from it. Don't look upon the wine. And if you're not supposed to look upon the wine, then you shouldn't even have it in your house. Put it away from you right now. Okay, well, hope you'll join me again next time as we look at Proverbs chapter 24 on the School of Wisdom podcast. Hey, thanks for listening to the School of Wisdom podcast. If you're listening to this over YouTube, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so that you'll be notified every time one of these podcasts is uploaded. I really appreciate all my followers, and I try to respond to each and every one of your questions. Come again next week, and we'll enjoy another lesson in the School of Wisdom.